Hi, folks. Welcome to Tuesdays with Tiff. We are not live today, but I wanted to still give you a message. I'm excited to bring to you an early sneak peek of my upcoming workshop on how to have difficult conversations with difficult people. We can all name somebody in our life that has been that person that is just really hard to talk to, whether there's somebody that is estranged from your life, if it's that boss, if it's that colleague, if it's somebody within your house, a loved one or a significant other. Communication is one of the top breakdowns in relationships, and I want to help you create healthy relationships within your life. I want to first and foremost lay out how I'm going to discuss this workshop. First, we're going to talk about communication within or with yourself. Second, we're going to talk about communication when it comes to your significant others or loved ones in your household. And three, I'm going to talk about communication within your workplace. We're going to talk about the last two in the workshop if you join me in person, but I'll talk about the first one in this Tuesdays with Tiff right now. Life mirrors our inner thoughts. So, what's going on in our heads is also being projected into real life. And you know that to be true when you've been thinking about somebody and all of a sudden they call you. That's not a coincidence. We have our energy and our thoughts that can be projected into the world, and life mirrors that back to us. And since that is the case, it's really important that we consider our inner dialogue and our communication within ourselves before we do so with other people. How do we talk to ourselves on a day to day basis, particularly when we make mistakes? When you're not kind to yourself and when you judge yourself consistently, that will come out onto others. And that means that you can't have loving communication with other people. And that's just the truth of the matter. And that typically comes out when you're stressed, when you're worried. The first step is bring awareness around how you dialogue within yourself and starting to notice what's going on in your head. Why is this important? If you've been conditioned to do the same thing over and over again, well, your brain has wired itself to fire a similar direction, which is basically your habit that you formed. Like, what do you do when you make a mistake? How do you speak to yourself? And it ultimately comes first and foremost down to how you think and what you believe, because your thoughts and your beliefs form your actions. And so if they form your actions, that's going to form how you communicate. And your fear self might actually freak out a bit, like, we're not used to being exposed. What's going on? It's going to be like, this is different. This is new. But it's really, really important to do this because if you're interrupting the pattern, then it gives you an opportunity to choose something different, to align yourself differently. And often this process takes time. It's not like overnight that you can just go 180 and just stop talking to yourself poorly. I've been on this journey for many, many years, and I still have to catch myself and redirect. But that is the process. It's not about the perfection. It's really about becoming aware, noticing, and then questioning what's going on. Is it really true? Is it really valid? Is it bringing up a fear that needs to have some compassion? Then you want to reframe and reaffirm the situation. How can it work out for your better? How can the narrative be redirected for your highest good? And that reframing is something that I've seen on Instagram where Kiki Palmer says, I wasn't rejected. That just wasn't for me. Or that relationship just wasn't meant for my highest good. Or that delay was really important in my life because it kept me out of danger. So when you reframe things to see things for your highest good, you can start to communicate with yourself more love, which then reflects on how you bring up conversation with other people. So rather than confronting with a state of blame, you can start reframing the situation to say what I can own in the relationship. For instance, I was consulting with my client, Freedom. Freedom had been very upset that her friend wasn't honoring her boundaries and didn't have an eye to eye understanding of her interest in life. They were missing alignment on things that they'd like to talk about. But Freedom never spoke up. She just played along. That is the responsibility that Freedom needed to take to share her truth. And if she sits and stays silent and starts to be critical within herself, it doesn't allow her to have a compassionate conversation with the other person. So when you reframe in your mind, you want to use your imagination. And we always use our imagination. We're typically playing out the worst case scenarios in our head. I'm super glad that you tuned in with me on this Tuesdays with Tiff. You're going to want to join this workshop on May 17th at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, going into depth on how to have difficult conversations. But first and foremost, it starts with you. You got the first pilot of that piece of the story. We'll go into 2 and 3 with others and in your professional setting this coming week. I look forward to seeing you there. Bye.